Comedy is the main goal because I do want to be funny and entertaining and not just a boring,
talking head.
Screech.
What's like the craziest thing that's happened?
Well, I guarantee you the people that run the media and the people that run show business are largely Harvard. The craziest thing, every once in a while there's an Eddie Murphy type or Dave Chappelle. One of his producers said something, I was like, well, I mean, losing your luggage in Turkey and thinking you're not gonna have anything to wear.
Move of replacing David Letterman with Steve Colbert.
I think the media is in love with the idea of all the revolving chairs.
That's not crazy. The luggage gets lost all the time.
Okay, you mean like someone goes insane or something? Hello everybody, it's your old pal Greg Proops, and you're watching Stark Insider.
It's a big goofball. Big complexity.
Oh my God! When did you decide that you were going to go into comedy, and how did your parents take it?
I was a teenager, and I was in high school, and I really loved George Carlin and Richard Pryor and all that, Lily Tomlin and Cheech and Chong, And then it was in the air. When we moved to San Francisco, that was when I really knew that I wanted to be a comic. In college, I kind of thought, at one point, a DJ, because believe it or not, DJ was a career you could have in the 70s. Basically, you lived and died on your own merit. If you were funny enough to do the business, you could be there.
Yes.
And that was a very adult awakening for me, and that was unbelievably seductive, and that was the moment when I decided that I want to do this. I want to be in clubs, I want to say the things I want to say on stage, and then you're treated like a grown-up. In general, there's a few exceptions, of course, but in general, we're pretty all on the same team.
Got it.
I mean, there's always petty jealousy and hideous, envy of people who get gigs or whatever. But that's every job. This week there was a Princeton study that found out that the country is an oligarchy, and I've been talking about the country being an oligarchy for years, and now it's actually in print with an empirical study with numbers on it, and I thought that was very amusing. So we'll be talking about that.
The question in itself is sort of interesting in studies.
Well, I think it's something that everybody knows already, that this country is run by the wealthy for the wealthy, and that we have littler, our voice gets diminished as time goes by. But the fact that they did do a giant Ivy League study at a very wealthy, privileged school, and then concluded that wealthy people were indeed in control, and now there's actual numbers and pie charts and graphs and everything. I know, because sometimes the studies are amazingly weird or irrelevant. But I thought this one sort of got a lot of play. And of course, I had everybody emailing me and tweeting me about it because I've never stopped talking about it. As Peter Cook, the comic, once said, there are many good laws for the rich, not so many for the poor.
It's almost like comedy is a vehicle to get your message across about something else you're passionate about.
Well, that's very true, I think. Comedy is the main goal because I do want to be funny and entertaining and not just a boring,
talking head.
Screech, yeah. But that's why I called the part of the show where I talk about substantive things, the boring preachy part, to make it a little lighter. And then at the end, sometimes people are like, oh my God, we've had 20 horrible things in a row, Yes. And I'll say, but the world's going to be okay. It was always like this, Someone has to be Jeremiah and yell at the wind. I think I said a couple weeks ago, there's nothing but giants and windmills in my world,
How do you know somebody's going to be entertaining or funny?
Well, that's partly why I do it in front of a live audience all the time, because I think they keep me honest. If they're not laughing and they're not involved and they're bored, then I know I'm not doing it right. And then, of course, I get a chance to lay into them and make fun of them for not being smart enough. And then it gets funnier, quicker.
Yes.
I think the audience is always the ultimate arbiter of what's funny and what's not. You develop an instinct to please yourself. I don't know if that sounds selfish, but I never think what'll make everyone laugh. I think, what do I think is funny? And then you have to trust that what you think is funny works well enough.
Creative courage, right? I talk to a lot of artists, and I think comedy is a form of art.
Well, thank you. Not everyone would agree with that.
But it's sort of interesting. It's sort of the balance of ego and trust, right? Going, this is the direction, I have a vision, and at the same time, you have an audience, whether it's a play and there's an audience out there, whether it's a piece of art that you have people viewing, whether it's comedy. So how do you balance that? Do you struggle with self-doubt?
Always, constantly. Yeah, I'm wildly insecure. The big struggle is always, is it going to be good enough? Is it funny enough? Is this mediocre? Why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why didn't I say something more perceptive?
Yes.
Why didn't I say something more humorous? There was an old-time radio show called Fibber McGee and Molly, and they famously did a gag on the radio where he would go, I'm going to go open the closet. And he would open the closet and the whole closet would fall down. And you would hear it, and of course it got a huge laugh. And that show's famous for that one joke. And they only did it maybe once a year.
Huh.
They didn't do it all the time, but everybody remembers that joke.
Yes.
So I feel like if you establish it,
Yes.
like now people know that I'm going to do Jeremy Irons at a certain point. If I'm going to do Karl Lagerfeld or somebody like that, you're going to get a Jeremy Irons. Lonnie, it's absolutely marvelous to be here with you. What a perfectly charming interview.
Oh.
May I ask you something?
Oh, no.
Are you wearing any kind of underwear? I hope that wasn't inappropriate.
Thanks, Clint, for that one.
What do you give the interviewer who has everything?
I'll go in and then I see Halifax. It's like, I mean, I'm originally Canadian, so I
Oh,
know
are
where
you? Where
Halifax.
from?
I'm from the Toronto area.
Weren't you, Mississauga?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Boy, how'd you know
I know
that?
all, I see all.
He is the smartest man
I
on
was
earth.
not guessing, I knew.
What do you think about the latest move of replacing David Letterman with Steve Colbert?
I think it's dandy. I mean, I don't find that television is a huge factor for me anymore.
Yes.
But I think the media is in love with the idea of all the revolving chairs. Frankly, you know, what would have been wrong with a woman or a person of color? We have lots and lots of white guys holding down late night, and we always have. And I don't understand why there's absolutely no movement toward having a woman or someone who's not white.
Well, you're the smartest man. Why do you think that isn't?
Because
I'm asking you.
white guys run the media, and they want to see other white guys. And white guys run the newspapers and see a show like The Daily Show or the Colbert Report are very informed and very well put together. They're also not viewed by that many people, which is what doesn't, but everyone in the media watches them, and everything they say gets put online immediately. So that's where their importance is. They probably have less than 1 million viewers a night, whereas something like Dancing with the Stars probably gets 15 million people.
Yes.
So you know what I'm saying? They're important, but they're important because they're important, not because everyone watches. Everyone watches it in snips and snaps. My mother was a waitress, and my father was a bartender, and I grew up in San Carlos in an apartment, and
Yes.
I wasn't poverty-ridden by any means, but we were blue collar, and I just, people are like, well, why do you always wear a suit and use big words? I'm like, because I aspire to. Why should I be denied with the rich are handed on a giant platter? When the crowd has a go at a comic and the comic has a go at the crowd, you can bet we're with each other.
Yes.
It's us against the world. Yes. And there's all that weird, our lingo is we kill and we die. The stakes are always as high as possible.
Yes.
And when you do very well, you killed them, and when you do really poorly, you died. So it's always
So
life and
violent.
death. No one ever goes, yeah, that was okay. It's like I killed.
Stark threes. First one, what's your favorite gadget?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably my computer, I guess. I had a BlackBerry.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got the BlackBerry, and he was like, a BlackBerry?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I have an iPad too, but I haven't figured it out yet. I need a child to help me. I really do. I don't think you can get tired of salmon, really.
Really?
Isn't it? It's like the beef of the sea.
Favorite drink?
Oh,
Adult beverage.
vodka. But I like red wine too.
Thank you so much, Greg, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lonnie.
Yes, I know. Okay. I know he has a deep voice, and I have to keep my voice down. Okay. So.
You're not doing the Jeremy Irons impression now?
You want me to do it?
Of course.
I also invite you to buy my new stand-up special, live at Musso and Frank's, recorded live at Hollywood's oldest restaurant. You can go to gregproops.com and download it for the low price of $4.99. And I thank you.